So, blessed listener, in this teaching today, going to what Jesus taught Peter, he says, Peter, can you not want and pray so that you will not fall into temptation? What causes one to fall into temptation? That is the question. The word teaches us that Jesus was taken by the Spirit in the wilderness to be tempted. But because he was prayerful, he never fell into temptation. He never did what the enemy was asking him to do. So many of you are falling into these temptations. You find you do what you are not supposed to do. You find you do not have the power to control yourself and to say no, because you are not a prayerful person. Many of you are so easily entangled into sin. You are easily influenced by sin because you are not prayerful. So the enemy knows your weakness. And that's why some of you at times when it is time to pray, your prayer is not prepped. Your prayer is not put in a way being led by the Spirit, but it is a prayer that is being led by the body, that it is just 2 minutes of prayer and you expect it to just be the way you want. But take the form of taking a relationship. The enemy led Jesus to the wilderness to test also him. He said to him, turn this stone into bread. We find this in Luke chapter 4 verse 1 to 13. We find what the enemy was doing, and that is what is happening to most of you today. The enemy will come and say, you have been in this situation for so long, do something. And you begin to want to prove to the enemy that you are a child of God. Let me show you what I will do. But Peter fell into temptation when they say you were also with him. He said, no. The day when they caught Jesus at the Garden of Gethsemane, remember Peter followed Jesus to find out. And when he was amongst the crowd, they saw Peter and they said, but you are also with Jesus. And he denies. He says, I do not know this man. What are you talking about? I was not with you. And we find this in the book of Matthew 26, from verses 67 to 75. But Jesus warned him to say, Peter, watch and pray, especially you, so that you must not fall into temptation. People will come saying, you have been single for so long, why do you not get married? You will end up arguing to the enemy when he comes and says, I want to marry you. You will end up doing what the enemy wants you to do because of pressure. But if you can watch and pray, you will not fall into temptation. You will know that between the body and the spirit, there is always a contradiction. There's always a war. So what are you paying attention to? That is the question. Are you paying attention to the weakness of the flesh, or are you paying attention to the promotions of the spirit? If you pay attention to the weakness of the flesh, you will end up turning the stone into bread. When the enemy says throw yourself on the ground, God will assign his angels for you. You will throw yourself. But if you know the will of God for your life, you will be like Apostle when they said to him, the owner of this belt, if he goes to Jerusalem, he is going to be tied up and beaten up. We find this in the book of Acts 21, verse 10 to 14, of the prophecy of the prophet that met with Apostle Paul. When they cry for him, he says, you are crying for me not to go, but I even want to kill. But because I'm going with the Holy Spirit, he's going to teach. If they want, they can even kill me, but I'm not afraid. You will possess the boldness of the Father. Have you seen a disturbed Christian because of a dream? One dreams a disturbing dream that the entire day they can be ruined. But if you know who you are, if you know that you are in the Father, you will not be disturbed by such dreams. You dream a spiritual husband or a spiritual wife, you start to condemn yourself the whole month. You do not even pray because of that. You become condemned that you cannot even pray. You start to question, what have I done wrong? What have I done to perceive such a dream? But if you know that God is with you, when you have such a dream, when you wake up, you start to set people free and say, Father, those that are tormented by spiritual wives, I set them free. You will not be disturbed the entire month. When you have such dreams, you know that God is saying, I must deal with these situations. God is assigning me for this situation. That is why I'm having these dreams. You start to understand the will of God for your life. I dreamed being chased by this and that does not mean people will chase you. And you start to become afraid. No. God is assigning you to pray for those people that are under attack. God is assigning you to enter into this course, but you become confused. You even change your mode of prayer. You start to reverse and cancel. Father, I cancel the moment you get up. Some things do not need to be canceled. Some dreams, they do not need to be canceled because you cancel them due to fear. You cancel them because you are afraid. You say, I dreamed someone stabbing me with a knife. I cancel this, Father. You are afraid. Some dreams, you do not need to cancel them. They need you to kneel or to stand and say, Father, I bind that spirit. No one will die of a knife. Father, I bind that spirit. No one will be shot dead. Father, I cancel that witchcraft over the people of God. You do not need to pray because you are afraid. You are a child of God. Relax, focus, enter the rest of the Father. Relax, calm down. Do not be confused.